Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be drafting out this very simple bustier blouse with keyhole neckline. So we are drafting out the upper bodies of this dress. If you're interested, keep on watching and let's get started. I already have my pattern paper and I'll go ahead and start taking my point. The first point I'll take is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 11 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 14 inches. And the next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist point, which is 17 inches. I'm going to go ahead and rule straight lines across all the points. After doing that, I'll label my bust line, my under bust line, and my waistline. The next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurements. Okay, half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7.5 inches. I'm going to indicate that. On that dot, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and I'll slant from there into the neckline area. The next thing I'll do is to go down by half of my round armhole circumference, which is 9.5 inches. I'm going to indicate the 9.5 inches with a dot. And then I'm going to place the same measurement that I have on the shoulder line, which is 7.5 inches. I'll make sure I have that same measurement on the chest line and I'll adjust it. After doing that, I'll connect the two dots into a straight line from the shoulder slope to meet this 9.5 inches, as you can see. And then I'm going to rule a straight line across. So this new line is going to be my chest line. So after ruling a straight line across, I'm going to label the line my chest line, and then I'm going to extend the line to meet the center front. So what I'll do is to place my tape and I'll mark the 9.5 inches all the way around like this, and then I'll rule a straight line across. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape on this straight line right here. Okay, and I'm going to divide what I have into two equal halves. So I'll fold my tape into two to get the center, and then I'm going to use my marker to indicate the center, as you can see. After doing that, I'm going to place my tape on that center and I'll come inward by half an inch. I'll also indicate the half an inch with a dot. The next thing I'm going to do is to place my tape on this chest line and I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4. I will indicate that with a dot, and then I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect from the shoulder slope to meet the half an inch and from there to meet the dot that I have on the chest line like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. For the width, I'll be using 4 inches. And for the depth, I'll be using 3 inches. So it depends on the type of neckline that you want. If you want a high neckline, you can go up. For the depth, you can do 2 inches, 2.5 inches. It depends on what you want. And I also want a round neckline. So whatever neckline you want to do, you can go ahead and do it. After connecting from the width to meet the depth, the next thing I'll do is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'm going to place 4 inches on the waistline, on the under bust line, on the bust line, and on the chest line. After doing that, I'm going to connect all these dots into a straight line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take in my dart. So for the center front, I'm going to take half an inch. I took half an inch, but I adjusted it and made it 1 inch. What you are going to take for your dart depends on how busty you are. So like I said, I adjusted the center front to 1 inch. So for the side front, I'll be taking 1.5 inches. Okay, so if you are not on the bigger side, you can take 1 inch on both sides of this straight line. But if you're on the bigger side, you can do what I'm doing. You take 1 inch on the center front and 1.5 inches on the side front. Okay, so the person I'm making this pattern for is on the bigger side, so that is why I'm taking 1 inch on the center front and 1.5 inches on the side front. I hope you are not confused. So on this bust line, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to now connect from the 1 inch dot to meet the under bust line like this. Okay, so make sure the line you are going to draw is not that straight and it's not too curvy either. It's not supposed to be a straight line. After doing that, I'll also connect from the 1 inch to meet the under bust line like this. So at this point, I decided to adjust this half an inch. So I'm going to go out by another half an inch. Okay, so like I said, if you are not on the bigger side, you can take half inch here and then take 1 inch on the other side. You can also take 1 inch on both sides of this straight line. Okay, but if you're on the bigger side, go ahead and do what I am doing. So I decided to make it 1 inch, so I added half inch to the half inch that I marked earlier. I'm going to now connect from that point to meet the dot below the bust line like this. After doing that, I'm just going to cancel this other line because we will not be needing it anymore. We are using this other new line that I just created. So I'm going to shade out this line just so I don't get confused whenever I'm cutting. Okay, so I hope you guys are not confused. The next thing I'll do now is to place my tape on the remaining part of this shoulder, as you can see, and whatever I have there, I'm going to divide it into two. So I'm folding my tape to get the middle point of this shoulder. Okay, whatever I have, I'll indicate it with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to connect from that dot to meet my chest line, the straight line on the chest line. As you can see, I'll connect it like this. Okay, the next thing I'll now do is to tighten my over bust to avoid gaping. So on that straight line, first of all, because I don't want my chest area to be revealing, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches, which is now going to be my new chest line because I don't want the chest area to be open. Okay, so I went up by 1.5 inch. You can do 1 inch, you can do half an inch. It depends on how open you want the chest area to be. So on the center front, I took half an inch for the dart, and on the side front, I'm taking 0.75 inches. The next thing I'll do now is to go up from the bust line. I'll go up by half an inch, just like I did while I was taking the dart for the down. Okay, this is to avoid any sharp curve. So what I'll do is to place the curved part of my ruler, and I'll connect like this, as you can see. So like I said, it's not meant to be a straight line, and don't make it too curvy to be difficult to stitch. So I'll just connect like this. After doing that, I'm going to blend in any sharp edge. Okay, after doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and now determine the type of neckline that I want. So if you want a sweetheart neckline, you can go ahead and determine that. But before I take my neckline, I'm going to go up on the chest line by half an inch because I don't want the neckline to be too deep. After doing that, I'm now going to connect from this dart leg to meet the half an inch that I just came up with, and you can connect from there to meet the chest line. You don't have to go up by half an inch just like I did. Okay, and for the other side of the dart leg, I'm going to blend it into the armhole area just like you see me doing. Guys, next thing I'll do now is to start placing my measurements. I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. What I'll do now is to replace the dart, and then I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the under bust line, I'll place my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart and I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart and I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'm going to connect the dots together. Guys, the next thing you'll do is to draft out the keyhole neckline. So it depends on how open you want that chest area to be. For me, I'll go down from my neckline by 3.5 inches because I don't want it to be too opened. I'll indicate the 3.5 inches. After doing that, I'll also determine where I want it to stop on the other part of the chest line. So I went out by about 1 inch from that dart leg. I'm going to now use the curved part of my ruler to connect from this 3.5 inches dot to meet the other side of the dart leg. So that's how open the keyhole area is going to be. I hope you guys are not confused. I hope you are following. Okay, after connecting, I'm going to shade out the part that we are going to cut out. Okay, that's basically all for this front pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. So pay close attention so you know where to cut. Okay, so we are cutting the yoke separately, so make sure you label the yoke, label the side front, and label the center front. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have. So if the shoulder area is too much, you can go ahead and adjust it into the armhole area to make it as small as what you can see on the thumbnail. Okay, so let's go ahead and draft out the back. For the back, I've already gone ahead to take out my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches and I ruled a straight line on it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to take my points. We don't really need all those points for this back, so I'm just going to take half of my round armhole circumference, which is 9 inches. You know, this was our chest line for the front, so I'm still using it for the back. Okay, my bust point is supposed to be 11 inches, but there's no need for that. I'll just go ahead and place the distance from my shoulder to my waistline, which is 17 inches, just like we did before. So I'm going to go ahead and rule straight lines across the point. Okay, so I'm going to place my bust measurements on the chest line, just like we did before. I don't want too many lines so you guys don't get confused. Okay, so after ruling the straight lines on the dots, okay, I'm going to label the chest line and the waistline. The next thing I'm going to do is to take half of my shoulder measurements, just like we did earlier, but this time I'm going to be taking my measurements after the straight line, that is after the zipper allowance. Okay, half of my shoulder measurement is 7 inches. I'm going to mark the 7 inches. Okay, sorry, 7.5 inches. Okay, I'll indicate that on that dot. I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll stand from there into the neckline area like this. So the next thing I'll do is to go down by half of my round armhole measurement, which is 9.5 inches, which I already have here. Okay, so what I'll do now is to place the same measurement that I have on the shoulder line on this chest line. What I have there is 7.5 inches. I'll mark the same 7.5 inches on the chest line, and I'll connect from the shoulder slope to meet the dots on this chest line like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. For the width, like we did earlier, I'm going to take 4 inches because the width for the front and that of the back is supposed to be the same. For the depth, you can determine the type of neckline that you want for the back. So I want the back to be a high neckline, so I'll just go down by 1.5 inches. So you can do whatever you want to do for the back. You can make it a V neckline. You can just do what you want for it. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to connect from the neck width to meet the neck depth like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. So remember, I'm taking all these measurements after my zipper allowance. Okay, so this zipper allowance is not part of the measurement. Okay, so I took my bust circumference divided by 4. I indicated that on this straight line right here, I'm going to divide what I have into 2 equal halves. To get that, I'm going to fold my tape like this, and I'm going to mark the center, and I'll indicate it with a dot, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect from that center to meet the point that I have on the chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 4. Okay, after doing that, guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to take in my dart. So I'm going to take half of my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 4 inches. I'll take the 4 inches on the waistline and on the chest line, and I'll connect the 2 dots into a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to take in my dart. Okay, so on both sides of this straight line, I'm going to be taking half an inch on both sides. So if you're on a bigger side, you can take 1 inch, 1 inch on both sides of this straight line, but I'm using half an inch. After marking the half an inch, I'm going to connect from the waistline to meet the chest line like this. After taking my dart, guys, I'm going to label my zipper allowance, okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and start placing my measurements. On the chest line, I already have my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll just add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that. I'll replace this dart of 1 inch, and then I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect from the chest line to meet the waistline like this. The next thing I'll do is to adjust my zipper area. So I'm going to extend this line, okay, and I have 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. What I'll do is to reduce it by half inch. So I'll take out half an inch from the waistline, just the waistline. I'm going to extend my neckline into the zipper allowance, okay. I'll extend the neckline as you can see me doing. After doing that, I'm going to now slant from this waistline to meet the neckline area like this. So I've taken out half an inch from the waist area. I'm doing this to avoid zip bulge when I'm sewing, okay. After connecting, I'm just going to cut this part out. So guys, that is all for this back pattern. So like I said earlier, you can determine the type of neckline that you want. If you want an opening for the back, you can just go down from your neckline by 1 inch or 1.5 inches. You indicate it, and then you can now connect to meet the dart leg and cut that part out. That way the back of your blouse is going to be open. If you want a yoke also, you can just cut through the chest line, whatever you want to do with the back. If you want a V neckline, you can also connect, and if the shoulder area is too big, you can go ahead and just adjust it into the neckline area, okay. And yeah guys, that is all for this back pattern. I'm going to go ahead and cut. After cutting, when cutting on your fabric, go ahead and add half an inch allowance all the way around your pattern paper except the side and the armhole area. So these are my patterns, okay. That is all. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and leave your questions in the comment section.